Right, now we're actually live. Now we're public. I knew there'd be some teething issues the first time I'd done this stream, and I managed to go from an unlisted stream, clicked on what I thought was public, turns out it was actually private, and now we're back to public again. So hello. Yeah. Right. Hopefully, what you guys can see is my spreadsheet at the moment. Hi guys. Hi guys. Hello. 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 Go. 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 Cool. People are coming in. People are coming in. Yeah. So hopefully, what you can see is my spreadsheet. Also on here I've got my teams, which I'm going to look at in a minute, but before we want to get started, I want to have a look at the spreadsheet because I've got all the results from FP1, FP2, FP3. I've done as usual the average position thingamajiggy where I average out everyone's position across the 3 practice sessions, and I've done the hypothetical qualifying thing in over here on the right hand side in yellow. Hello people. Wow, there's loads of people in the chat. Loads of people. Good to see. Good to see. Hello, like I say, anyone who's just joining, feel free to ask me whatever. Hopefully regarding F1 fantasy, I already see someone talking about football. That's fine if you want to chuck in a little bit, but yeah, let's try and keep it on topic with F1 fantasy. If you want some opinions on your teams, I'm happy to try and help you make your own decisions. I'm obviously going to be in a minute talking through my hypothetical qualifying thing I've got going on here, and then also, as we can see, my team here, which I've got set up at the moment. This is my team at the moment. I've got 3 substitutions left. And I'm going to be talking about what I'm thinking. Give you a quick spoiler alert: is I've got two teams I'm looking at the moment. It's very close between the 2 of them. I've been hot on Hamilton all week leading up to this, really hot. He has not quite delivered in the practice session. So am I going to go with him or not? He's on that double streak, very tempting. Yeah, we're going to have a look at that in just a minute. Before we do though, YouTube is telling me now would be a good time to insert adverts, but we're not going to do that. We don't want adverts. Let's just get on with the good stuff. Right, I need to keep track of what on earth is going on the chat because it's already gone a bit mental. If it goes a bit too mental, I might have to put it on like subscriber only mode just because I don't know how I'm going to keep up with it otherwise. But hello from everyone who's saying hello. Lovely to see you from Italy. Great. Chile. People from all over the world tuning in, which is just amazing. So yeah, really great. Someone asking Ferrari constructor. For me personally, no. For me, I've dabbled with the idea of going with Mercedes, but I think Red Bull look like the best car so far through the practice sessions, and they're on that race streak, that plus 10 points. Max Verstappen looks in like a world of his own. To be honest, he does this every race week. To be honest, Max Verstappen always looks in the world of his own. So yeah, I think for me the constructor is going to be Red Bull. I've made my mind up on that, even though I think Mercedes are tempting. But your question about being Ferrari as a constructor, I just don't trust them enough. One of the teams I'm looking at does actually involve Leclerc and Sainz in my team. It's a little bit more template, and that does concern me a little bit. But to balance that team, which I'm going to show you in a minute, I will be most likely putting the turbo driver on Perez. So we're going to look at that. As usual in these videos, I end up just waffling endlessly. I see one comment in the chat and I'll just talk about it for like 10 minutes. I'm sorry, I'll try and answer as many questions as I can. And if you guys can help each other out as well, because there's no way I'm going to be able to keep up with everyone in the chat by the looks of it, as well as keep on top of talking through what I'm trying to talk through. So I'll try and answer a couple more quick questions in the chat, and then I'm going to quickly go through the actual practice session times, the hypothetical qualifying, which is kind of interesting, and then I'm going to get into my actual team and actually make the substitutions, because I've only got about half an hour until the deadline, and if I just like waffle on and completely miss the deadline because I'm too busy talking to you guys, which is great, I'm not actually going to be very happy if I manage to mess up not making my substitutions and end up with that. So let's have a quick look in the chat, see what's going on. It's all a bit crazy. How's Lando considering he will start at the back of the grid? If he wasn't starting at the back of the grid, I can honestly say I would definitely have Lando in my team. And you can see on the spreadsheet here, Lando Norris in hypothetical qualifying, he's predicted to come in 5th. If any of you guys watch my videos normally, then you'll know that Lando Norris is incredibly consistent going from practice into qualifying. The most consistent driver across the grid, basically. It doesn't matter if he's doing well or doing badly or somewhere in the middle. Whatever he gets in this hypothetical quality I have set up on the screen, he generally does perform. I would not be surprised, as long as it's a bit of a weird one in Spa this weekend because of all the grid penalties, and there's loads of people starting at the back of the grid. But I do think because there's so many people starting at the back of the grid, I do think everyone will be participating in quali all the way through to Q3 if they make it there, because they want to have that one position. For example, Leclerc and Verstappen want to get ahead of each other. Like Verstappen, yeah. So I do think that Norris would have been a fantastic option. I think on that race streak, looking really good. But starting at the back of the grid, I just don't want to go there. I just don't want to go there. I think it hampers him too much. Yeah, oh god, just answering that one question. There's like another 10 questions that have come up. I'm sorry if can't keep up with everything. This is mad. I'll try one more question, then I'm going to hop on to what I actually want to talk about for a few minutes, and then I'll go over my teams, and then I will actually make the substitutions that I have decided on. Although I haven't actually completely decided, until I actually click confirm, those substitutions are not made up. So maybe you guys can help me decide as well, because I am torn between just a couple of different things. I'll tell you right now. Okay, the difference is basically Hamilton and Schumacher versus Perez and Leclerc. That's kind of what I'm deciding at the moment. The rest of my team I'm happy with. I'm going to go with what's in it. But yeah, we'll get there in a minute. All right, one more team. Should we mega drive at anyone in this race? Interesting question. Just popped up there from Aziz. Thank you. If anyone, definitely it would be Lewis Hamilton, and I've considered it myself. If Lewis Hamilton and indeed Mercedes in general looked a lot stronger through the practice sessions, I'd be much more tempted. But the reason why I'm not going to be using the Mega Driver this weekend is, first of all, they've not looked super hot. There is definitely a differential between the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, and the Ferraris. And also, Lewis Hamilton himself looks like he's a little bit off it compared to George Russell. So is Hamilton going to get those extra important points for beating his teammate in qualifying and in the race? And also, is there really a great turbo driver option this weekend? There's no one on a streak. It's nice to double up the Mega Driver with a turbo driver that's on a streak. There's no one on a streak that you really want to turbo drive. The only people you really want to turbo drive are probably Leclerc, Perez, or Sainz. Leclerc is on the quali streak, but he's starting towards the back of the grid, probably 15th or something. So yeah, for me personally, I'm not going to be Mega driving, but I would not fault anyone really for putting the Mega Driver on Hamilton. Right. So yeah, let's have a quick look. These are the practice session times. They are a little bit funny because we had a little bit of damp conditions yesterday. So a little bit more representative today, perhaps. We saw Sergio Perez struggle a little bit yesterday, 10th, but his performance in FP3 today has really put him on my radar and maybe much more likely to go with the more template team, which involves Perez, and I might even be putting the turbo driver on Sergio Perez. You can see it on the hypothetical qualifying. Like I say, this hypothetical qualifying averages out all the drivers' average positions across the practice sessions. So Max Verstappen, generally consistent. He's probably going to be competing for pole, even though he'll be starting towards the back. Carlos Sainz is a good shout for the turbo driver. I always get those two confused as well, just because I think he should be getting those beating the teammate points, and he looks good for a podium at the very least. So I do think a turbo driver on Carlos Sainz could be a big shout. I'm not tempted by a turbo driver in Leclerc. I just think his ceiling's a little bit low, which is why I'm also a bit unsure about putting him in the team over the likes of Hamilton. But I think Leclerc could still score fine points, somewhere between 20 and 30, considering he's got that streak. We saw what he did in Canada when he went to the back of the grid, and he still scored around about 25 points. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to do that on this occasion, though. So I'm not convinced by Leclerc, but he still may end up in my team. Yes, so continuing on down the list, like I've already touched on Lando Norris, I think he's going to be very consistent. If he makes it through to Q3, if he tries to qualify as best he can, do not be surprised if you see him in that P4, P5, P6 area. I do think Lando Norris, if he wasn't on the grid penalty, would be a great shout, but the grid penalty just really hurts his appeal for me. Sergio Perez coming in on the hypo at sixth position. But because he's looked so strong, and Red Bull in general with Max Verstappen as well, the Red Bull car itself looks very strong, which is a very big temptation to go with Perez as the turbo driver over Carlos Sainz. But for me personally, Carlos Sainz, I'll let you know now, when I'm going to get onto my team in just a second, I promise. Carlos Sainz is going to be on my team, regardless if I go for the Hamilton build or the not Hamilton build. Carlos Sainz is still getting in there, and so he's definitely in competition. If I go with the Hamilton build, Carlos Sainz is 100% turbo driver. If I go with the non-Hamilton build, it's between Perez and Sainz, but we'll have a look at that in a minute. Lance Stroll, is he a big red herring? I don't know. He's coming up here on the hypothetical qualifying as P7. And what have we seen so far from Lance Stroll in the past? We've seen him drop dramatically down the rankings when it comes from the hypothetical qualifying. We see him like threatening to get into Q3 consistently, and he always sinks it back down the grid. And I do also think that if we very quickly scroll across to my homepage on the spreadsheet, we scroll across down here. You look at the points gained from Lance Stroll, 96 points gained from positions gained. That's his main way of scoring points, and that appeal for me is reduced slightly this weekend because there's so many faster cars behind him. But he's still Mr. Consistent. He should still be finishing the races. He's looking competitive. He may be flattering to deceive, but we could still see a top 10 finish, and at his price point, I think that's that's about as best you can really ask for someone that costs about 9 million. So anyway, let's go back to the Spa thingy-majiggy. I'm aware that I need to get onto my teams. I need to keep an eye on the time. I'm very conscious of the time because I need to make my substitutions. Let's have a quick look in the chat. It's all gone absolutely mental. I can't keep track of this, but DMG, I recognise your name because you always comment on my videos, and you always have like very insightful comments, which I'm not saying everyone else doesn't have insightful comments at all, but DMG, I can see you really put the time and effort into your comments, and I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. So you've put, seriously considering not taking Hamilton now. What do you think? Hamilton, yes or no? Yeah, well, that is exactly what I'm going to be talking about. In fact, shall we bring up my team? Let's bring up my team. 2 seconds. Scroll across here. We'll go into the management area. This is my current team. I have used the wildcard. I'm going to get rid of these adverts. They're going to pop up. Boom. There we go. There's my team. I've got 3 substitutions left. What would you do at this team? Indeed, DMG, Hamilton or not Hamilton is the biggest question right now on my mind. And the answer to that question is going to very much determine how the rest of the next sort of 20 odd minutes play out. It's very tight. I'll show you the 2 teams I'm thinking of. This is what I'm thinking of. If I go with Hamilton, Lando is going to have to be cut. Albon's going to be cut, and I'm going to have to go down to Schumacher. And you might be going, oh, why are you going Schumacher over Magnussen? This one's tight, and to be honest, this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of leaning slightly away from Hamilton. Is that if I go with Hamilton, I basically have to have a Haas driver, and the Haas's look woeful. If you listen to Gunther Steiner's interview yesterday, he was saying they just do not have the straight line speed, and round Spa, if you don't have the straight line speed, that worries me. That means they're not going to be overtaking people, and they're going to get overtaken. So I'm between Schumacher and Magnussen. I'm completely going off topic again, but this is a roundabout way of answering the Hamilton question for me anyway. I'll get to Hamilton properly in just a sec. Yeah, I do think Schumacher might be a better option than Magnussen because the hazards just look awful. Magnussen, if he qualifies, he's going to probably get a couple of points for beating Schumacher for beating his teammate, but he's likely going to qualify like after all the grid penalties. He's going to start like 13th, 14th, or whatever it is on the grid, and then everyone's going to come flooding past him, and he's going to get the minus 10 points. I just don't see Magnussen as a very good option at all. So if I have to go for a Haas driver, it's going to be Schumacher. He's probably going to start P19, P20 sort of range because he's got the grid penalty and he's slow. And that gives the opportunities for DNFs for him to actually gain positions, which is the opposite of Magnussen. So I'm kind of tempted to go Schumacher. This is a build that I'm looking at. I would put the turbo driver on signs. The question for me, I got exactly the right budget for this, which is kind of funny. But Hamilton, he's on that double streak. It's very, very tempting to go with Hamilton because he's on that double streak. Mercedes kind of can be a bit deceptive with their practice session times. We've seen them in the past where they're floundering around, and even if they don't qualify particularly well, I still expect Hamilton to qualify in the top 10. If we quickly pop back to the spreadsheet, we can see Hamilton's predicted P10. He's actually level with Ricciardo, but I put Ricciardo ahead because he finished higher in FP3. So I can fully imagine if we go back a few races, I've had a look back, what happens with Hamilton from the hypothetical is he either qualifies close to it or slightly better. I can very much imagine Lewis Hamilton qualifying around 7th or 8th today. And then when you consider Verstappen's going behind him, Leclerc's going behind him, Norris will be going behind him, all of a sudden he's automatically just getting those like overtake points before the race has even started sort of thing. He's consistent. He's won 4 times around Spa, which is, historically one of the best drivers around Spa. He's won 4 times. Like, he knows this track like the back of his hand. I would trust him. Like, everything is like pointing towards Hamilton. Like, why is he not in my team? But it's just, he's expensive and it compromises it. Basically, for me personally, it compromises my team a bit because it means I have to go with that Schumacher, or I could, split and get rid of Stroll and go with like double Albon Latifi, which also doesn't excite me either. If I avoid Hamilton, I could just avoid the hazards completely. Like I say, if I go back to my team, if I avoid Hamilton, I can literally, excuse me, get Perez, avoid the Haas driver, get the clerk, and go with a team like this. Excuse me for a second, just a quick drink of water. So a very long-winded way, as always. I can't help answering your questions in a long-winded way, but for me personally, I think Hamilton he's going to have a good weekend. He's going to have a good weekend. I would not fault a single person for putting him in the team. For me, this team, for me personally, I think looks very well balanced. I'm not completely happy with having Leclerc, but he's the best option at that sort of price. And I do, I've run out of subs to do anything else to it really. I can't really do much more surgery on it. So I'm very tempted by this team. It's a bit boring because, the new shiny object this weekend is the Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. And when a shiny object comes along, everyone's like, oh, I want him. He's got a streak. Put him in the team. But then there is a compromise. Like I say, for me personally, to put Hamilton in the team, I kind of have to end up with Schumacher. I really don't want any Haas drivers, to be honest. If I get rid of Hamilton, pretend he doesn't exist, and just hope that he doesn't do well this weekend, even though I think he will, then I can happily cement a team like this, put the turbo driver on most likely Perez, because I just don't trust the Ferraris enough. I'm already a bit scared putting double Ferrari in my team. Before the break I was like, I'm not putting any more Ferraris in my team. That's it. Leclerc out the team, Sainz, nope, done. I'm done with Ferrari. But look, they're coming back in. They come crawling back in, knocking on the door. Hey Tom, can I please come back into your team? And I'm an option for turbo driver as well. I'm just a sucker for the Ferraris. Can't help it. So yeah, I'm at this very moment in time, as the deadline is coming up very shortly. I need to lock this in the next few minutes probably. I am leaning towards this kind of more boring but stable team that you currently have on your screen. And Lewis, as much as he's that fantastic, fun, shiny object, if he'd impress a bit more in the practice sessions, I may well go with him, but there's too much. It's like putting all my eggs in the Hamilton basket. If we go back to the Hamilton team for just 2 seconds, let's just throw it back to Carlos Sainz, and then you have to go back down to Schumacher. So if I went with a team like this, and Hamilton, for whatever reason, doesn't hit a streak, or maybe he DNFs, even though it's unlikely, if Hamilton does not perform and I go with a team like this, I am sunk. My team is then relying on Red Bull and Sainz, and past that, Alonso, please have a good weekend, not one of your earlier on in the season performances where you end up just crashing out or whatever. And then I've got Stroll and Schumacher to back me up. If Hamilton does not perform, I'm screwed. This is I'm shooting back down the rankings, back into 100k and beyond sort of thing. So I am more tempted, and I think I'm very much leaning, unless you guys can talk me out of it. I have completely lost track of the chat. I apologise, because I can't keep track of this. I'm sorry. But yeah, so right now I am leaning towards the other build. In fact, let's get that other build back on screen, just so if the deadline suddenly catches up to me, I'm not in a panic trying to click on the right people. So let's just show what I'm thinking at the moment. So this is the team that I'm going for, unless I change my mind in the next few minutes. Is Hamilton worth it? Don't know. Right, let's have a look at some questions for a few minutes, see if I can answer. I'm keeping Hamilton considering Ferrari as a constructor. No, don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, you can by all means, but remember what happened in the last few weeks. Ferrari strategy, blah blah blah. Can it get any worse? I don't know. I do think Ferrari will be fine, to be honest. Yes, they're liable to make them, cocking stuff up basically. But sorry, trying to keep this family friendly. But I do think they're going to be trying desperately hard to get as many points as they can over the next few races. The next few races are critical for Ferrari. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Critical for Ferrari, and if Leclerc basically doesn't get maximum points, that's hard. That's going to be hard coming from the back. But they're going to be pushing him through the Spa grid as much as they can this weekend. If Ferrari do not do well over the next triple header, the next 3 races going ahead into Zandvoort and Monza, then Leclerc's title hopes are basically over. So it's all or nothing now for Ferrari. And yeah, so maybe Ferrari constructor enables you to bulk out your main team a little bit more. But for me personally, I just think the Red Bulls look so strong. And I know Max is starting further back, but with the number of grid penalties, Max is effectively starting P15 or whatever it is. I don't know exactly, but that's a way to get my attention. Just spam turbo driver Sainz. I've already got over the turbo driver, and I'm actually, if I go with a team like this, I'm more leaning towards going with Perez, just in terms of balance, and also because I don't trust Ferrari enough to go for it. The Red Bull just looks quicker through the majority of the track, and where it counts for those long straights where, yeah, I just think that, I don't know, it's going to be tight. I think I like this team as well because having Perez and Sainz is they're probably the most likely to be competing for the win, and behind them probably George Russell potentially, although he's just too expensive for me this weekend, and then possibly Max Verstappen and Leclerc. If they manage to fight their way through quick enough, they might be competing for the win. But yeah, I do like this team because it has Perez and Sainz, who in my opinion are probably the most likely to win the race. And if I can get first, second, third, and I can get Leclerc to fight his way through the field. This team also covers me for Red Bull. I do like it. Yeah. Max will start at 16th minimum. Okay, cool. I'm taking a punt on George Russell. Oof. Yeah, I mean, I do actually think George looks very good. And if you have George Russell this weekend, he is likely to be on a double streak, just as Hamilton is this weekend, going into next weekend in Zandvoort, which may or may not suit the Mercedes. I haven't really thought about it too much, but off the top of my head, I think Zandvoort might be all right for Mercedes, actually. Quite a few like fast-paced corners going around there. So, yeah, George Russell on your team for this week saves a substitution on that double streak for next weekend. So, yeah, go for George Russell if you want to. What else? Let's scroll back up a little bit and see who I've missed. I'm sorry. Can you do a quick 103 million build? Yeah, for all you guys on a budget, like I'm sitting here with my riches of 108.5, and I know there are people with more budget than me, but there's also a lot of people that don't have that much budget. So all I'd say, if you don't have the budget, you can still go with a team like I've got on screen at the moment, and you can just cut out. For example, you could cut out. I can't actually physically do the change on my screen because I've got no more substitutions, so the actual website won't let me. So I'll just talk you through it. You could cut Alonso. Say you've got 103 million. That means you could save like another 5 million. You could cut Alonso down to like an Albon. You could cut Alonso down to maybe a Schumacher. you could also go the Ferrari route constructor, even though I've just kind of slagged it off a few minutes ago. I'm not particularly happy with Ferrari as a constructor. But you could go that route. But for me personally, if I was sat on 103 million, I would have the team on your screen right now, and I'd probably just drop Alonso down to one of the budget options. That's what I'd do. So, yeah. Who's a turbo driver? Everyone wants to know the turbo driver options. Everyone wants to know, but for me personally, the options are, I don't think Leclerc has a high enough ceiling this weekend. I think he'll still do well, providing there's no Ferrari shenanigans and crashes. He did have a little bit of a crash at the end of FP3, it's important to note. But I think Leclerc should score roughly 20-25 points maybe, which is fine, not exciting. So for me, the turbo driver is between Perez and Sainz. For my personal team, I think I'm leaning more towards Perez, just because he looks so good in FP3 and the Red Bull. I trust the Red Bulls more than Ferrari, so I'm happier to go with Perez personally. So I think, as much as Hamilton is appealing to me, what the hell have I done there? Okay, sorry, I'm just on my other screen, so it weren't funny. Yeah, I think despite Hamilton being so appealing, I think I'm going to go with this team, and I'm going to get a couple more minutes before locking it in. I'm just going to answer a couple more questions, I think. So let's have a look at what we got here. I've gone for Leclerc, Sainz, turbo driver, Norris. Interesting, you've still gone for Norris despite the grid penalty. Alonso, Albon, Red Bull due to sub restrictions. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, if you're restrictive substitutions, Norris is still fine. I think McLaren's looked decent this weekend. Ricardo's also looked decent. If we quickly throw it back here, where's Ricardo coming in? Predicted as P9. We see this so often with the McLaren boys. They're so consistent going from. It's not just Norris, it's Ricardo as well. And when Ricardo. Wherever Ricardo is, Lando Norris is always like 3 or 4 positions ahead of him. We see it again in the hypothetical qualifying here in this yellow column you can see. So that gives me extra faith that Norris and McLaren in general are quick. And I do think Norris will do well fighting for a few positions, and he may just about hit that streak. So I wouldn't write off Norris at all. If you want to go Lando Norris, or if you've run out of substitutions and you're locked into Lando Norris, then I think that's fine. But for me personally, I have that luxury of not having to go for him. It's actually, it's kind of interesting. I've just said like the Leclerc is kind of limited to about 20-25 points maybe, but with Norris being on the race streak, is actually Norris better than Leclerc this weekend? Interesting thought. Let me have a drink and think about it. Right, let's go back to the chat for a couple of minutes, and then I need to make my decision because I'm going to run out of time. What about Vettel and Stroll? I mean, Vettel just hasn't excited me. He hasn't looked great in practice. He did all right in FP3. Stroll, I've already touched on earlier. I don't think he's very exciting this weekend. He's in my team for substitution restrictions. I've only got 3 left, and I can't really get rid of him. I want to focus on the drivers that are going to score the big points. And Stroll, because I've got the budget for him, is just a nice kind of reliable guy that will just sit there and soak up a few points for me. But I'm not particularly excited by Stroll, despite his performances in practice, just because across the season, Stroll has really flattered to deceive going from practice into qualifying. He looks decent in practice, and consistently he is dropping from the hypothetical qualifying at least like 3, 4, or maybe 5 positions down. So Stroll's even like in the record books, like the most Q1 exits like ever. I don't know the exact number, but he's in the record books for the most Q1. He doesn't qualify well, Lance Stroll, which is the strength of Lance Stroll, because it means he gets those overtake points. But with all those people starting behind him, he's going to have Leclerc, he's going to have Verstappen, he's going to have Norris, he's going to have these quick cars behind him. He is not likely to get those overtake points. He's just in my team as a bit of filler. He's, I've got the budget, which means I don't have to touch the Hazards. If I was going to touch the Hazards, I'd go for Schumacher personally. I've already talked about him earlier. If you are listening, otherwise the Albon or Latifi are also fine. They've done well. Latifi got a purple sector in FP3 which is crazy. So the Williams look kind of okay. But yeah, for me personally, I'm going for Stroll just for substitution restrictions and Mr. Reliable, even though I don't anticipate him getting more than 10 points. He might not even get 10 points. I just don't like DNFs. People that DNF just don't want him in my team. And he says as he's got 2 Ferraris just staring at him right there, like, hee, hi guys. So this is going to be my team, I think. Or like I say, I'm going to lock it in just a second. Start of quali has been delayed. Has it indeed? I've not got the TV on at the moment, so I don't have a clue what's going on. Let me have a quick look on Twitter. Bear with me 2 seconds. What's the latest? Has it actually been delayed? But that's not going to affect the deadline for. It's delayed due to barrier repairs. Okay, fair enough. Thank you for pointing that out in the chat. Very good from Shivam. Thank you very much. But yeah, I don't think the deadline is going to be moved at all. I still think we need to lock in our teams within the next few minutes. So yeah, I've got to make a decision. I'm going to make my decision, then I'm going to focus on the chat and try and answer your questions, because I'm sure there's a few of you in the chat right now that are also scratching your head as to who to go for. I need to make a decision. Do I go for Hamilton or not? I don't know if I can do a poll or something in here. I don't think I can. Oh, I can do a poll. Right, quickly then. Help me out, guys. Hamilton, go. Put the poll up. Don't know if that's worked or not, but we'll see. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay, it's up. I think the poll's up. Can everyone vote? What are we doing? Are we saying Hamilton or not Hamilton? I'm personally leaning away from Hamilton, but can you convince me to go with him? I don't know. I'll give you a minute to decide on that. Looks like the nose might be winning. Okay, let's have a quick look at the rest of the chat. Go for Russell instead. If I go, the trouble with Russell is because I've only got 3 substitutions, I can't quite tweak my team around enough to actually get Russell in my team. I do think Russell is a decent option. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I don't like his price point, unfortunately, but he is potentially on a double streak for next weekend. And I think Mercedes might be good around Zandvoort. He's looked good in the practice sessions. I think Russell's is a good shout. Is there a last minute switch? Oh my god. Can I do a last minute switch to Russell? I've talked myself into it. No, I don't think there's any way where I can get Russell. Let's just have a quick look if I can actually get Russell. This is probably why doing deadline streams is not a good idea, because I get talked into stuff by all you guys. I'd have to go Ocon's on a grid penalty as well, so I can't really squeeze him in. Can't really afford anyone else up there. Bottas doesn't excite me because he's got a grid penalty as well. There's no one really. Russell just locks me in, and I've only got 1 substitution. Yeah, I don't like it. I could tweak it a little bit more, but I don't like it. I think what's the poll saying? Well, 2/3 of you guys are saying no to Hamilton, and I have to say I think I'm kind of agreeing with you so far. I think I'm going to get the team set up to lock it in. Carlos Sainz. That's it. Let's put the turbo driver in. I think I want to go Perez. Sainz is definitely tempting, and again, I would not fault anyone for going Carlos Sainz. I think he's still a good option. I can see a world of Max Verstappen come storming through, and Christian Horner gets on the blower and he's like, Checo, move out the way, please, mate. And then he ends up not getting any points for being his teammate, despite starting 10, 15 places ahead of him on the grid. I can see that happening. But beating the teammate points aren't the be all and end all. And I think I need to actually lock in my team before I run out of time. I don't know how reliable this website's going to be in locking in my team. So yeah, the poll, thank you guys for voting. In fact, let's end that poll now, because I think, about 2/3 of you roughly said no to Lewis Hamilton. So yeah, 69% exactly. In fact, I don't know how it's worked. Where's that missing one? There was only 2 options. How have I got 69 and 30%? Don't know how that YouTube's worked that out. But thank you everyone for watching. I'm going to lock in my team. This is very tense. Perez or Sainz, last decision. I have had a good think about this. I've been leaning towards Perez. Perez would look good in FP3. Red Bull looks stronger. I don't trust Ferrari. Everything's pointing towards Perez for me, despite signs looking good as well. So yeah, I think that's it. I've used the wild card this weekend. All 12 substitutions. I've got every bit of the Buffalo this weekend out of my wild card. Turbo drive on Perez, blah blah blah. Leclerc's in there, even though I'm not excited. And we're gonna lock it in, guys. Gonna lock it in. So I'm gonna hit save. Yep, hit save. Am I gonna have to do any like traffic light? Is it gonna make me click on traffic lights or buses? No, that's it. Team has now been saved. That is it. The team is locked in with about 7 or 8 minutes to go. So for the next few minutes, I'm more than happy to do my best. Let's get rid of this advert. More than happy to do my best to help answer your questions. I've locked in. I think my daughter's just woken up right on cue. I can hear her. I have to go tend to her in a minute. She's had a nice nap whilst I've been chatting away to you guys. So any last minute questions? Has anyone still got a substitution to make? I can't believe after all this I've not gone with Lewis Hamilton, or I'm already like, what have I done? What have I done? Why is Lewis Hamilton not my team? But I like the look of my team. It looks very balanced. I've got Red Bull on the race streak, which I anticipate them to finish as long as there's nothing funny going on. Perez turbo driver. I could still change it, but yeah, Perez is still going in there. Yeah. Let's have a quick look in the chat, see what's going on. 10-point hit or wild card. I would save the wild card if you haven't already used the wild card. I'd save it for when Hackerman gets busy again. Out of interest, Hackerman, are you in the stream? Can you like reveal yourself to us? Like, you have messed up this season so much. What are you doing to us? But at the same time, you've given me a bit of a nice budget as well by me following your manipulations. So I hate 10-point hits, but if it's between a 10-point hit and a wild card, if you really want to change your team that badly, I would take the 10-point hit. Latifi or Schumacher or K-Mag. I don't like K-Mag. I've spoken about K-Mag earlier. I think he's going to qualify around sort of 13th position, then he's just going to get overtaken by everyone, so he's going to end up losing points. Schumacher is tempting because he's probably going to start 19th or 20th. Then if anyone DNFs ahead of him, he'll automatically get those points. So I think Schumacher's better than K-Mag. Latifi, I think Albon's more likely to beat him as a teammate, so he's not really going to get those extra little bonus points, which are important for these budget drivers. And similarly, he's going to qualify probably 13th, 14th sort of, and then he's going to get overtaken by everyone, so he's going to move back. I think if those are really your only options, then Schumacher, as much as it seems wrong because he's going to qualify in like P20, I think Schumacher might be the answer. Play on equals Hackerman. You never know. It could be someone just having a bit of a laugh, just trying to spice it up and get everyone talking about F1 fantasy. But why not Hedge Signs Turbo Drive? Already got Red Bull as constructor, but just because I think my team is already balanced enough, and I strongly believe that Red Bull are the best car this weekend. And if I believe that, then I need to back that belief personally. And I don't. I don't like going too hard on Ferrari because they've hurt me so many times this year already. I'm already not over the moon of having 2 Ferrari drivers in my team as it is, but it's fine. And I want to put the turbo driver on Perez. So we've got 5 minutes. This is your 5-minute warning for the deadline. If you've not locked in your team, you might want to start thinking about it. Magnussen not starting grid. Actual qualities. What else we got in here? Magnussen doesn't. I don't know what you mean by that, but yeah, best 10 million driver. 10 million and below. If you had a luxury pick right now, best 10 million. Normally I'd say Stroll or Bottas, but all these grid penalties have just thrown everything under the bus basically. It's really hard to pick. I can see Schumacher doing kind of all right, to be honest, if there's DNFs ahead of him. Stroll or Bottas. Bottas has got that grid penalty, so it doesn't quite excite me. So maybe Stroll, but it's kind of a bit of a muchness. It's just, that's your kind of filler option. You really want to focus on your expensive drivers, fill in as many slots as you can. Norris or Leclerc, that's something I was just debating about a minute ago, and I was kind of a little bit tempted by Norris. He's on that race streak, but I just think, I don't know. I think Leclerc still slightly edges it for me. That's why I ended up subbing out Norris. I could have gone with Norris over Leclerc, but I didn't, and there's my answer to you. I can't get a much more definitive answer than actually in front of you, making a substitution, getting rid of Norris, bringing in Leclerc. There's my answer. Right, there's so many questions on Turbo Driver. Right, I'm going to answer this right now. There's 2 minutes left, basically. Turbo Driver, I've got it on your screen. I want Perez. I think Red Bull are the fastest. They're consistent. I trust their strategy. Christian Horner might be a bit of a weirdo, but I trust him. there you go. There's my answer for everyone who's asking me right now. Perez is my favourite for Turbo Driver. That's it. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. Any last minute questions? Literally last minute questions. We've got a couple of minutes. Talked you into dumping magazine for Mick. I hope it pays off. Michael, I recognise your name as well. I see you comment on a lot of my videos. Thank you for joining in the chat as well. It's great to see so many people. We've got over 400 people like in total. I think at the moment there's 73. Looking at the YouTube stats and stuff. But yeah, I'm just quickly scrolling through the chat in case there's any last minute things. I'm guessing that most of you by this point have heard what you want to heard, and you're probably tapping away on your phones if you're not already like locking in that last substitution. Ocon, not for me this weekend. If I'm going to go Alpine do look quite strong. I think Alpine is still, fighting McLaren for that 4th best place, and I think if I'm going to go with an Alpine driver, I'd rather have Alonso because he's going to get those teammate point. It's most likely Ocon's got the grid penalty, so Mercedes as constructor, we're just going to fly through the last couple of minutes. Mercedes as constructor, I think it's fine. They're on that quali streak, but for me personally, I prefer Red Bull. But I think if you want to go Mercedes, now is the race to do it. It's wide open. This race is wide open, and if you want to go Mercedes, if you've got that extra little bit of budget to fork out for them, I think Mercedes are fine. Honestly, I think they're going to have a good weekend, and I almost went for them, but I just think Red Bull just looked too strong, and I think Max Verstappen is going to storm through this grid, and just I wouldn't be at all surprised if Verstappen ends up on the podium. Honestly, Last couple of minutes, guys. I think the questions are dried up because everyone's like I say, seeing what you want to see and everything. So, yeah, I'm going to hang around just for a minute or two. Then I'm going to go. Actually, I think the qualifying is being delayed. Like I say, don't know, probably just by a few minutes whilst they repair. But yeah, has anyone got any last minute thoughts for me? Anything? This is my first ever live stream. I want to thank everyone that's actually turned up. Thank you everyone for participating. I think next time I do a live stream, which I will do more of these because they've been quite fun. It's been hectic trying to keep up with the chat, and I think I have failed miserably at keeping up with the chat. But I've really enjoyed managed to real time interact with some of you guys. It's always nice to chat to you in the comments of my videos, but actually seeing you in the chat is really great. So yeah, good luck to everyone. Good point there from I'm going to try and say your surname. This is going to be a disaster. Roethlisberger, Mr. Roethlisberger, saying good luck. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Good luck. I'm going to end the stream in just a minute. But yeah, just want to end kind of by saying a big thank you. Best of luck, and I'll see you during the week for another team selection video in Zandvoort. So yeah, there's my team. It's on screen, locked in. Turbo Driver Perez. What could possibly go wrong? And that's the deadline right there. 3 o'clock's just struck on my computer. That's it. Deadline's in. Everyone's locked in. Hope everyone has a good weekend. And like I said, I'll catch you in the week. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for all the people saying good luck and thank you and everything. It's great to see. Thank you very much. Cool. All right. Thanks then. I'm going to end it there. And yeah, like I said, I'll see you probably in a couple of days or so for team selection for Zandvoort. Thanks very much and catch you soon. Bye, guys.